the top of my head right away comes to mind is ESG. Since 2020, we could consider that to be the start of some real disruptive behavior in a good way, because we saw a lot of people coming out and protesting against social injustice. We saw climate matters really come to the forefront for a lot of countries, realizing how big their carbon footprint truly is and how little time we have to fix these issues. So, how do businesses take what's going on a global scale and putting it into their practices? We could say that when it comes to like matters like climate change, we can look at doing things where we as an entity reduce our carbon footprint. Simple things like when you're going out to look for suppliers, you look for ethical suppliers that are doing things in their own business with their own practices to ensure that there isn't any sort of modern slavery going on, that they are using fair labor, they are sourcing their materials from places that are not practicing unethical practices. Another thing that comes to mind as well is cybersecurity. We are such an online world now. And because of things like that, businesses are open to risks now because there are a lot of cyber risk elements that are sitting, that are lurking. So a board should be paying attention. They should be getting the correct training around cybersecurity. How do they protect their businesses' information? Because as we move towards a world that goes more online, users become more susceptible for their information to be leaked. And I would also say on the human side, because again, it ties back into ESG, seeing people actually want a change in the type of directors that we elect or that form of organizations. So boards are really going to have to look at their diversity. They're going to have to look at, do we have the right mix? Do we have the right mix of knowledge? Is there diversity of thought on our boards? Is there diversity of gender on our boards as well? And how do we go about making those changes so that our shareholders, all our stakeholders are happy? Because it's also employees that want to see this change. They want to see that when I look at a board, I see a reflection of myself in one of those board members sitting there. And again, how do you go about getting that sort of sensitization for companies to be able to start thinking in that direction? So what steps do we need to take? Investors have been calling for it. Shareholders have been asking for it. So I think it comes back down to a more humanistic approach to governance and need for strong leadership, especially when we're going through such a disruptive time. But not only leadership that can chart a course, but leadership that can really take organizations from one place to another and move with the times and move with the changes. High impact boards really have directors that are knowledgeable, that are experts in their fields, that are diverse, that take time to assess themselves as well. So it's not only about a board or a director sitting on a board saying, I'm an expert in X area, so therefore I'm a great director. But it's also that director being able to assess him or herself at the end of the year and say, well, maybe I need training in X, Y, and Z, because the business doesn't only deal with financial, it deals with a legal aspect, or it deals with a human resource aspect, or, the company is going through this change right now where I want to be a part of when it talks about like cybersecurity. So I want to get training and those things. So it's important, I think, for high impact boards to be able to understand their strengths and their weaknesses, being able to close the gap. And it's also necessary for boards to have a strong corporate secretary who can liaise with them and, be able to introduce these types of changes, arrange the type of training that needs to take place, because this person who sits as a corporate secretary, they would understand the skills, the composition of their board. They will understand where there is a gap, what is the need. They sit at a very optimal level because they see what the board said, what they hear what the board says, and they hear what management says at the same time, and they are really the conduit. It's also about, having meetings that are regularly scheduled, that have the right type of reporting going up to the board so they don't spend time doing management's work. They're very strategic, they're forward thinking, they are looking at the business from a holistic perspective, taking into consideration global impacts, things that are going on in the local economy, things that are going on regionally, especially too, as well, because those things do impact businesses and operations of business. Impact boards really do need to have the ability to be flexible, dynamic, innovative, and they must be held, I believe, by a very strong corporate secretary.